Elastica. Elastica? Hey guys, Megan here. Thank you for joining me today. I thought today we would talk about one of my favorite plants. That is the rubber tree or rubber plant. And here is mine. As you can see, it's late winter, so it's staying this way for a while. I'm not going to repot it, but mine is leaning pretty hard and stay, but is actually doing pretty well despite its lean. So first, let me talk about this plant. This is known as Ficus Elastica or Elastica. I'm not sure. And it's called the rubber plant because it actually has sap that is latex. It's a white latex that is used in rubber making. Consequently, it is not a pet-friendly plant and can actually cause skin irritation if you cut it and are allergic to latex. So FYI on that. These are originally from Nepal, China, Malaysia, that area. And in the wild, they are giant. I mean, even in houses, you'll see giant rubber tree plants. And they can grow up to 80 feet high. Not in a house plant in the wild, but unless you have an 80-foot rubber plant, leave a comment and let me know because I want to see a picture of it. I guess you probably have to send me a couple of pictures to get the full height. Despite it being one plant, Ficus elastica, it actually comes in a few varieties. Sophia, Chloe, Melanie, Robusta. Those are all different variations of essentially the same plant or the same. It's just different shades of green, basically. But the three most popular are the Tineke, which has these very cool yellows and greens on the ends. The Burgundy, which is the one I have, and its shoots are a very, very dark crimson burgundy color, as well as you can't really see it, but there's on the edges of each, it's a very, very thin, but very distinct burgundy color. I can't think of a better word for burgundy than burgundy. And there's also the ruby. And that's a really popular one now because it has a lot of pink tones in it, in addition to the shades of cream and white, which makes it sort of like the Tineke. But unlike the Tineke, the rubies keep their pinks, and sometimes it even gets into this really beautiful deep red as they mature. It's a beautiful plant. So now we covered the little, 101 about it. Let's talk about how to care for this plant. These plants do really well in bright but indirect light, so like a south-facing window or something like that. Direct light will cause these gorgeous leaves to burn very quickly. And you can kind of see right here, got a bit of burn on this guy. Sorry. Overall, they're pretty hardy, and I would consider them definitely to be idiot-proof plants because it can handle underwatering. My best recommendation is to water it when it's, I don't know, maybe like an inch down. If it's dry, maybe a little bit less than, maybe like half an inch. When you stick your finger in and you feel dry, or if you're like, I don't know what that means. If you stick your finger down and it comes back clean, that means that it needs water. You can see I just watered this today, so it's got a little sediment on me. This plant works really well indoors because it's not like calatheas or anything. It's really mellow with its temperature needs, anywhere from like 60 to 85 degrees. So if you have a house that goes through seasons like we do in upstate New York, then as long as you're maintaining a consistent temperature of about, 68 to 70 degrees throughout the year, this one's really going to be a good plant for you to have. You also want to make sure to avoid drafts. So drafty windows, your air registers, places like that. It doesn't want any wind on it. It just kind of wants to sit and do its thing. Soil requirements. The best ones are ones that have good aeration in them so that water's not sticking around too long, because sitting in compact soil could cause root rot on these guys. These are really popular too because they can handle dry climates really well. So humidity is not really a big factor for them. And it's the same with fertilizer too. It's pretty chill on that. I usually do it once a month during its growing season. So like early spring to early summer, and then leave it alone for the rest of the time. I actually use a liquid fertilizer called Schultz all-purpose liquid plant food, and he seems to really like it. So if you want to repot it, which you can see this one needs to be repotted, but it's going to have to wait till the early spring right before it starts to grow. That's usually the best time to repot it. And waiting that long will help reduce its chances of getting transplant shock. If you want to propagate, your best bet would be to cut off from the main stem. But if you've got like a huge healthy plant with lots of offshoots and things, cutting off a stem with a node is perfectly fine. cuttings will typically do better in soil than they will in water, but you can water propagate them if that's the way you want to go, as long as you change the water out weekly and use only rainwater or distilled water. Now, I personally like to use my aquarium water for water propagation because it's full of happy fish poop minerals and nutrients like nitrites and nitrates, both of which are awesome for plant growth. And again, with regards to propagation, if you have a latex allergy or sensitivity or you're not sure, I would recommend wearing gloves when you cut because that sap can cause skin irritation. So let's talk about problems that this guy can get. If it's leggy instead of bushy like mine, that's actually okay. On some plants, that can be a sign that it's not getting enough chlorophyll or something like that. It's not getting enough sunlight, but this guy is cool as is. I could cut the tip off so that he starts growing more stems, but honestly, I'm just going to keep on trucking with him. He's good as is. However, if I wanted it to get bushier, that would make it probably happier, to be honest, because it will have more surface area for sunlight to hit, causing more chlorophyll, causing more photosynthesis, and making it overall a happier plant. I think I just talked myself into cutting this and propagating it. If you start to see leaves dropping, there are a couple of things that could be a giveaway for. Overwatering, if it's kind of soaked or drowning its roots, it's going to stop promoting push. It's going to instead bring all of its energy down to the roots to protect them. So you'll start to see droopy leaves, especially towards the bottom. 4, it could be in a spot where it's too cold, it's a draft or something like that. Check around the area to make sure that it's at a spot where it's getting enough sunlight, but it's not getting hit with any sort of airflow. And finally, it could just be part of the natural cycle, this plant. All plants end up getting rid of old stock for new leaves. So don't freak out too much if you start seeing leaves coming off or drooping. It happens. If you're concerned about it, check around, check the soil, make sure that it's not getting any drafts and that you're using the right water and you're watering it the way that it needs to be. If your plant is bending, like mine, I'm not going to pull that much more. It's natural or curve. That's because it's trying to reach sunlight. The place that I had it at my old house, the only place I could really fit it, I guess, is where it would have to reach out to get sunlight. And so that's why it's like this. What you can do to fix this is rotate it towards the light so that since it's bending this way, I would rotate it that way so that it kind of straightens itself out. Or you can do like I do and just put a plant stand on back to give it some support. And finally, if your rubber plant is not growing at all, check the light, check your water schedule, and make sure you're cleaning off the leaves and so that there's no dust accumulating because that blocks sunlight and makes it more difficult for photosynthesis to kick in. All you need to do is just take a damp cloth, paper towel, whatever you've got around, and just wipe the leaves off like once a month, unless your house is super dusty. So that's it. That was Ficus Elastica. I don't know how to say it. How do you say it? We'll discuss in the comments, but I'll see you in the next video.